Hello and welcome back to the Allan Kardec USA channel, where we discuss the doctrine of Spiritism as codified in his writings by Allan Kardec. Today we're going to discuss something that I'm sure you've all heard about. It's called the Ten Commandments. But what many of you might have missed is how, aside from other scriptures in the Bible that points to the reality of reincarnation, it is even referenced in the Ten Commandments. And I'm going to show you where precisely in the Ten Commandments it speaks of reincarnation. But before I get to that, I want to mention how many non-believers of reincarnation have posted a comment in many of my videos. Basically the same exact comment where they refer to a scripture in the Bible. My guess is that many, or maybe even most of them, are posting the comment without watching the video, which is fine. But what they don't know is that I have spoken about that specific scripture quite a few times before. I'm talking about YouTube viewers simply going straight to the comment section and writing this. Hebrews 9:27. Just as man is appointed to die once, and after that to face judgment. And they believe that this line from the Bible is proof that reincarnation does not exist. What these commentators don't realize, what they don't know, is how this line from the Bible entirely offers the opposite, that it is further proof of reincarnation rather than disproving it. Look at the line again carefully. What does it say? Let's break it down. Just as man is appointed to die once. What does the Bible mean by man? Of course, it is referring to mankind, a person, an individual, a human body. And what does it say next? Just as man, person, can only die once. I've been saying that from the beginning. Allan Kardec has said that in his writings from the beginning. Spiritism has said that from the beginning. The man or woman, the person, can only die once, one time. And that human body is never coming back. Now, what does the scripture say next? And after that, to face judgment. Once again, something Spiritism and Allan Kardec and I have been saying all along. After death, there is judgment. And who exactly is being judged? Not the human, of course, because he or she is dead. Then obviously, the one being judged is the soul of that human, the spirit of that human, that has been released from the dead body. Now, here is the most important factor in this situation. That scripture clearly states that the human body dies once, but it does not say that we are judged only once. If the line had read, man dies and gets judged once, or if the line read, man dies once and gets judged once, then those commenting would have a much better argument against the reincarnation when posting Hebrews 9:27. But it does not say that we get judged only once. This means that the judgment will decide what happens next with that soul or that spirit released from the dead body. And there is nothing disproving the soul returning into a new human body that will eventually die only once and later getting judged again. Now, let's talk about the Ten Commandments. I'm sure many of you have seen this before. 1. Thou shalt not have other gods before me. 2. Thou shalt not make unto thee any graven image. 3. Thou shalt not take the name of the Lord thy God in vain. 4. Remember the Sabbath day and keep it holy. 5. Honor your father and mother. 6. Thou shalt not kill. 7. Thou shalt not commit adultery. 8. Thou shalt not steal. 9. Thou shalt not bear false witness. 10. Thou shalt not covet. But what you are seeing here is basically a condensed, brief version of how the Ten Commandments actually appears in the Bible. The Ten Commandments are presented in the Christian Bible in 2 different books of the Bible, in Exodus and in Deuteronomy. But it doesn't look and read exactly like this. What you are seeing here, what you have seen your whole life, unless you have actually read the entire chapters of Exodus and Deuteronomy, is a quick, brief, paraphrased version of what actually appears in the Bible. And this version was created long after those scriptures were originally written. You all know the story of the Ten Commandments. Moses went up the mountain of Mount Sinai and came back down with several tablets with all these rules on them that he told his people was instructed to him by God up in the mountain. Now, I'm not going to explain each of the Ten Commandments in detail. Each one might have a specific explanation. For instance, look at the last one. Thou shalt not covet. What does that mean? Well, it simply means that you should not desire obsessively what other people have. Of course, it's natural to want what other people have. Someone might have a nice car or a nice house, and you want that too. That's okay as long as you work for it. But here is a better explanation of what Moses, or God, is actually saying. You shall not covet your neighbor's wife, or his male or female servant, his ox or donkey, or anything that belongs to your neighbor. Neighbor in this area of the Bible is not your next door neighbor. It is basically anybody in your society. And how about the 6th commandment? 6. Thou shalt not kill. That sounds easy enough to understand, right? But while Moses told us about that commandment, at the same time, he had spoken of an eye for an eye in the very next chapter after the 10 commandments, in Exodus chapter 21, verses 23 and 24. But if there is serious injury, you are to take life for life, eye for eye, tooth for tooth. So what Moses is saying here is that it is okay to kill someone if that person killed someone else. What we know today in our society as an execution. In Leviticus chapters 20 verse 10 and Deuteronomy chapters 22 verse 22, it states that a woman and her lover who commit adultery should be put to death. Leviticus chapter 20 verse 10 says, the adulterer and the adulteress shall surely be put to death. So, thou shalt not kill is in the 10 commandments. But a woman who cheated on her husband and the man she cheated with can both be stoned to death. While some countries, unfortunately, still engage in this barbaric, horrible practice, it's safe to say that most civilized countries today have chosen to disregard those scriptures of the Bible. We don't do that anymore, nor should we. Of course, several thousand years later, Jesus tried to put a stop to that, as shown in the book of John chapter 8, verse 7, when a crowd gathered to stone a woman to death who had cheated on her husband, and Jesus said, he who is without sin among you, let him cast the first stone. Now, as far as executing someone if that person takes a life, a murderer, Jesus did say, as written in Matthew chapter 26, verse 52, people who live by the sword shall die by the sword. This has been interpreted several different ways. One interpretation is Jesus saying that if you kill, then it is okay to kill you. But a more popular interpretation is that of a warning from Jesus Don't kill, or you will place your life in jeopardy. Anyway, today we are specifically looking at the second commandment and how it speaks of reincarnation. Thou shalt not make unto thee any graven images. Once again, this is just a condensed version of that commandment. In Exodus chapter 20, verses 4 through 6, in its entirety, the full lines of that commandment reads, Thou shalt not make unto thee any graven image, or any likeness of anything that is in heaven above, or that is in the earth beneath, or that is in the water under the earth. Thou shalt not bow down thyself to them, nor serve them. For I, the Lord thy God, am a jealous God, visiting the iniquity of the fathers upon the children unto the third and fourth generation of them that hate me, and showing mercy unto thousands of them that love me, and keep my commandments. Now, that's from the King James Version of the Bible, which is a little bit more complicated to read. To put it simply, here is a simpler reading of those verses from the New Living Version of the Bible. You must not make for yourself an idol of any kind, or an image of anything in the heavens, or on the earth, or in the sea. You must not bow down to them or worship them, for I, the Lord your God, am a jealous God, who will not tolerate your affection for any other gods. I lay the sins of the parents upon their children. The entire family is affected, even children in the third and fourth generations of those who reject me. But I lavish unfailing love for 1,000 generations on those who love me and obey my commands. That is the full second commandment. Let's begin with the very first line. Thou shalt not make unto thee any graven image. What is God saying here? Well, during the times of Moses, and throughout history in many different cultures actually, communities of people would sometimes create a form. It might be a big statue that resembles a creature or a person. And then someone would announce that this is God. That the actual thing they are looking at, whatever it might be, is God. And people start worshiping that thing and praying to that thing. And possibly a big motive as to why the Creator made it in the first place, leaving money and coins and valuables at the base of that thing. Yeah, people of biblical times actually did this. It was an abusive practice that Moses was trying to stop. According to the writings of Moses, when the Ten Commandments were put forth, there is only one God, and that God is the only God that everyone must worship and believe in. So now that we have the gist of that first line in the second commandment cleared up, what does God say next in this second commandment? I lay the sins of the parents upon their children. The entire family is affected, even children in the third and fourth generations of those who reject me. I lay the sins of the parents upon their children. In the New Living Version of the Christian Bible, that same line reads, punishing the children for the sins of the parents. Think about that. Children being punished for the sins of their parents. How is that even fair to children that haven't done anything wrong by God's laws? How could anyone who believes that God is a just and loving and fair God believe that God would do this? Does it even make sense? No, it does not. So there must be something here that we are not seeing. And then God continues, even children in the third and fourth generations of those who reject me. So now God is talking about children far into the future. Third and fourth generations. You're talking about children born several hundred years later. Why in the world would God punish children born 200 or 300 years later for something that one of Moses' people did during the time that Moses was living? This is what it says in the second commandment. If you don't believe me, grab any Bible and see it for yourself. No matter how anyone tries to twist these writings to come up with something suitable, arguing against reincarnation, they can't come up with anything that makes sense. That's because the only thing that makes sense is that God is talking about reincarnated children, the, quote, sinners, unquote, of Moses' time committing sins. And if these are sinners from his time, then how are they being punished as children for the next 2 or 3 centuries? Spiritism teaches us that reincarnation is a learning process. We continue returning as a new child to this earth, or possibly another material world, to pay, to endure karma for the wrongs that we have done in previous lives. In a sense, reincarnation may be looked upon as a punishment. And that is very likely how the people of Moses' time saw the process of reincarnation. Those who understand reincarnation in today's world know that it's not really punishment, but a learning experience. The people of Moses' time all knew that the ultimate goal of reincarnating is to become pure and to earn your spot beside God in heaven without ever needing to reincarnate again, without ever needing to return into a new human body. And they saw returning as punishment. If you learned from a judgment after death that you must return, that was looked upon as a punishment. But we know that what it really is a trial, a new learning lesson to teach you not to do those bad things that you've done before again, to teach you to be good. The ultimate goal of the 10 Commandments is to get everyone to follow the rules. Because if everyone makes those 10 Commandments a part of their lives and follows them diligently and lives up to them, you might have a greater chance of not needing to return to this earth in a new reincarnated human body. Please be sure to subscribe to this channel so that you are alerted when the next video is uploaded. You may also share your comments below, or if you would like to write to me personally, I can be reached at kardecusa@gmail.com. My name is Ciso. Take care and have a blessed day.